Gustav, do you see a difference between conducting band, orchestra, choral? Is there a difference in your mind or style of teaching for the different disciplines?
No, actually I don't. The only difference is the repertory. I mean, orchestral conductors conduct orchestral pieces and operas, and band conductors conduct original band music, and the choral conductors conduct choral pieces. Sometimes it's combined and mixed repertory, but basically I think it's the same thing. It's the same technique, as you want to call it. If you want to call this the conducting technique, it's a rather simple kind of craft to the traffic of the movements we show. The big problem is usually a musical question. How do we learn about the music? And we can talk about that another time, but technically we do the same thing. So you can easily shift from band to orchestra or vice versa, or you can go from the chorus to the band. Or to the orchestra, it's the same. The traffic is the information which we need in order to keep the orchestra, the chorus, or the band together is the same. And I'm pointing this out in the book, that it is really literally no difference in your studying process and in your physical movements. Then all three are working the same way.
In preparation for band music, orchestral music, choral music, is there a difference in preparation for you?
When I learned band pieces, in the beginning, of course, when I actually conducted a band in my early student days, and then I was very troubled by having not full scores. Those were the old days when you have the piano reduction, and it would say little notes. Here the brass plays, here the woodwinds play, here's a clarinet, here's an oboe, here's a tuba, whatever. But you had to figure out what they played from the vocals, from the piano reduction, and then eventually, of course, full scores were available. So we have the full score of a band piece or a full score of an orchestra piece. We do the same thing. We analyze the piece, and we of course we have to be able to read it. Which, as a matter of fact, in a way, it's more complicated to read a band piece because there's so many different transposing instruments. The orchestra, of course, the orchestra has sometimes as many wind instruments as a band has, but it's the same. You have to learn to transpose and to read how those instruments function. But then the process of analyzing the piece musically and sorting what I call it, orchestration, see who plays together and who plays the tune, who plays the harmony, who plays additional parts of the composition. Then you just go through this in a very analytical way with all the scores, and then eventually you have to figure out how do I beat it, how do I communicate as a conductor, and that's the same. The signals are the same. We use the same patterns. We use the same. If you want to simplify, we know when we have to have big motions, depending on dynamics, or we have to change our information when it's doing different instruments, or that makes a big difference for the conductor how to signal to the orchestra or the band. Here, the tubas, for instance, they need a special attention. They're far away from the conductor, and it's harder to play in a way to come in right on time. So we do work. That is the same with the double bass or the tuba or the bass section in the choir, because that's really the technique, is to know how to communicate with the different instruments, the different voices, to be sure that we know what they need. And when they need it, that's of course the crucial one. Within the score, you have to find out, well, that's when I have to go here, that's when I have to go here. And that's what Carvalho called the zigzag way, which meant that you have to travel from one assignment to another. Here you have to pay attention to this section, here you have to go cut off that section, here you have to bring in that particular solo instrument, and you have to help this person perhaps and you wanted to show how you want this particular musician how to shape the tune. Then you would use your hands, hopefully, and not talking. Conductors shouldn't talk very much. You have to sometimes, but basically that's the communication, and that's began to intrigue me very much, how to explain how we can communicate best with the orchestra.
In the description of the book,
Yeah.
it mentions that you approach from a very rudimentary to a very sophisticated
Right.
communication,
Yeah.
and also the zigzag
Right.
method that you just
Yeah.
briefly
Right.
mentioned. And in the book, you have many illustrations and
Yeah.
exercises.
Right.
A book that comprises rudimentary. How important is it for conductors, young conductors, even experienced conductors, to reestablish those rudimentary exercises as part of their daily routines, or how does this all fit
Well, that is one of the
as your career
develops. Yes.
develops?
Well, I find that is one of the worst parts about conducting is we have no feedback. When you're a chamber music person or a chamber music player or an orchestral player, you can be sure that your colleagues will tell the person sitting next to you playing the second part or the first part or the instruments before or the instruments behind. They'll tell you you're playing too loud, or it's staccato here, it's short notes and not long ones. What are you doing? And they talk to you. And as conductors, once we step on the podium, we get no feedback. We get a review. If it's good, we read it, and if it's not good, we think the reviewer is no good. And it's really terrible. And we have the orchestra very rarely, or in the band, I think it's the same thing. A member of the orchestra or the band or the choir comes to the conductor and says, I really don't understand what you're doing there, or I don't agree with your musical ideas here. That's now we're conductors, and of course we know everything, and so it's ridiculous that we don't get feedback. So I think in the book I'm trying to point out that one of the most important things is today is to look at yourself on a DVD, and that's of course something I didn't have when I was as a young conductor. This is fantastic for today's conductor to see, does the communication work? Is it my fault that they can't follow properly, or they lose the tempo, or they play too loud? It's my fault probably. Maybe I'm too big, or maybe I don't show the piano in my face or in my motions. It's all the same. It has no variety, and that is a fantastic tool today. And that in many ways, that's the best teacher today you can have, is that DVD, and you go and look at it, and my God, I cannot stand what I'm seeing. And we know, as a matter of fact, we know. I was like the story when I studied in Vienna, and one of the faculty members pointed out that Furtwängler, who was a very famous conductor at the time, when he saw himself for the first time in a film, he couldn't understand why anyone could understand what he was doing. He said, it looks absolutely awful. I had no idea that it's so unattractive. And he apparently said, I'm distracting from the composition. I'm doing all these things, and I see no reason why I should do this. And he began to really work on it. And I don't know how, when that moment happened, when filming was possible. But I think this is one of the best things which is available today for the young conductors, is to look at themselves.
Absolutely.